Sigmund Freud's interest in the implications of psychoanalysis began to extend over the entire domain of culture. He sought to apply psychoanalytic principles to the study of art, religion, literature, and primitive cultures. In his studies on religion, Freud viewed obsessional neurosis as a distorted private religion and religion itself as a universal obsessional neurosis. He explored taboos and prohibitions in primitive cultures and analogized the various postulates of primitive beliefs with neurosis. He saw Sophocles' play Oedipus Rex as expressing a universal law of mental life and interpreted fate in that play as the materialization of the internal necessity. He also saw the Oedipus complex as governing the tragedy of Hamlet. In 1907, Sigmund Freud wrote a paper, Creative Writers and Daydreaming, in which he viewed works of art as the imaginary satisfactions of unconscious wishes, just as dreams were. What the psychoanalyst can do is to piece together the various elements of an artist's life and his works, and to construct from these artist's mental constitution and his instinctual impulses. Freud conducted such analysis of Leonardo da Vinci's picture, The Madonna and Child with Saint Anne. His lengthy examination of Leonardo da Vinci's character generated a prototype for psychoanalytic biography. In this paper, Freud suggests that, like the child who fantasizes, the creative writer also engages in a kind of play. He creates a world of fantasy which he takes very seriously, that is, which he invests with the large amounts of emotion while separating it sharply from reality. He observes that popular stories typically have a hero who is a center of interest, a hero whom the writer appears to place under the protection of a special providence. No matter what dangers and adventures he undergoes, he is invulnerable. Knowing that he will eventually survive allows the reader to follow his journey with a feeling of security, which Freud describes as the true heroic feeling. Through this revealing characteristic of invulnerability, says Freud, we can immediately recognize his majesty, the ego. Freud's point here is that the fiction is not a portrayal of reality, but has all the characters of a fantasy or daydream. The hero is invulnerable, women invariably fall in love with him, and the other characters in the story are sharply divided into good and bad in a manner that contravenes the more subtle variations found in real life. Therefore, the story expresses a fantasy on the part of the creative writer who can indulge in this parading and projection of his ego. Freud points out that his emphasis on a writer's childhood memories derives from his assumption that a creative work is a continuation of and a substitute for what was once the play of childhood. Freud's understanding of play implies a self-created world of language, a language that reconfigures the conventional idioms that are held to express reality. It also lays emphasis on the writer's highly subjective entry into the system of language, an entry marked by psychological makeup as well as by social and political circumstances. This implies, like much of Bakhtin's thought, that language is appropriated by the artist for her own ends. It implies a kind of return to a Lacanian imaginary realm of infantile security and satisfying wholeness, a realm where everything is ordered just as we might wish, and that whatever the author's explicit aims or intentions, there is an underlying subtext working unconsciously whose motivations may be different.